Is it balanced? This question haunts me. It is the most commonly asked question across my YouTube comments and in my livestream chat. My most frequent answer? It's complicated. And the "it" in question in regards to balance is almost always modded content added to Star Sector. In this video, I'll be explaining how the question of game balance in Star Sector is complicated and providing an answer for why I don't normally elaborate beyond that. Note that in this video, I am working from my own experience and opinions about the game. I am by no means an expert, nor have I run large amounts of unbiased tests to find true balance. I must note that this is an examination in abstract, and not intended to call anyone out or to judge any particular Star Sector mod for being bad or unbalanced in any negative way. What is the purpose of the question, is it balanced? First, let's look at the subtext. Why care about balance? The balance of an individual game piece in Star Sector directly relates to how often it wins against other pieces on the field. If some combination of ship, weapon, or hull mod wins very often over other combinations, it might be considered unbalanced. This is undesirable because it reduces the pool of options that are best, sometimes down to a single ship with a single hyper-specific loadout. Once the ultimate weapon is found, why would I use anything else? And even if I do refuse to use it, what am I to do if the enemy AI fields it and there is no counter to it? This sort of extreme situation can be hard to engineer. It gets easier in proportion to the number of mods installed into the game. The greater the potential for cross-mod interaction, the more likely it is that multiple systems that were not designed with one another in mind will combine, produce hilarious or powerful results. Thus, the purpose of asking is it balanced is presumably to determine whether a given piece of content will be beneficial to add to one's own game or not. Is it different enough to be fun, strong enough to be viable, but not so strong that it overshadows other options entirely? This view of balance has a problem. Fun is subjective. The experience of difficulty can also be subjective. A ship that is totally overpowered when personally piloted may fail horribly when left on autopilot, or vice versa. Some may enjoy having that absurdly high win rate with a certain fleet comp, while others may be put off by this. Everyone knows what fun is by looking at it. It's a feeling. I know right away if I'm engaged and entertained, or if I'm bored. How can I answer if something is going to be balanced, and thus fun for another person? Just because I enjoy it doesn't mean someone else will. This subjectivity is why the question of balance is complicated. This is why I suggested earlier that the balance of a given thing should be measured by win rate. Measuring win rate objectively requires testing. Running mock combats with a variety of loadouts versus every other possible loadout, doing so enough times to acquire a pool of data that could then be referenced to see if there are any outliers. Low performers could be buffed, and higher performing items could be nerfed. If anything in the content were changed, I'd need to run all of those tests again. If we assume a minimum of 3 combats per combination, each combination representing a random assortment of ships with random weapons, officers, and hull mods that make up both the enemy and the player's fleets, that's a lot of combinations. And the more ships, weapons, factions, and so on that are added to the game via mods, the worse this potential tangle of combinations gets. A further layer of complexity is added by the players themselves. Do we account for player piloting? How can I evaluate balance in the context of a player pilot who is better or worse than me? I cannot play like someone else. The whole landscape of balance also changes the moment any kind of skill rework or expansion to the player's abilities of any kind is installed as well, so bear that in mind. The amount of work required in both running such tests and organizing and collecting all of the data would be gargantuan. The tester could filter out duds by removing combinations that would be obvious failures, but that opens up the theoretical tester to being accused of not being fair enough or thorough enough in their testing. I want to provide useful information when people ask me about balance, but there are so many moving parts to consider that I always struggle to provide a useful and concise answer. Balance is complicated, but how do I decide whether or not to install a particular mod? I don't think that there is an objectively right answer. This is your single-player experience. I conclude that I cannot decide for you, but here are some things to consider that don't spiral into fractal performance testing nightmare fuel. Does it look cool? If so, good. If not, you're likely to be disappointed every time you see that ship. Ah, the Buffalo, again. Yippee! Does the mod have a long history of development? If so, this is probably a good sign. It is more likely that the creator of the mod and the community around it has put it through its combat paces and tuned it into something that tickles a large number of people's ideas of what is fun yet balanced to play. Does the mod have a changelog? If it does, read some of it. This is the best way to get an idea of how a mod gets tuned over time and how frequently the mod updates and changes. Are ship stats being changed? Or is the changelog full of updates related only to the addition of new content? Neither of these are bad. Balance may have already been achieved. Or perhaps the mod is focused primarily on adding more and more cool stuff. You'll have to make a personal judgment call there. In conclusion, I cannot be an expert on balance across the entire modiverse. Not unless you are running my exact same mod list and have my exact same low level of player skill. The best thing that you can do is try stuff out and form your own opinions based on experience. Go and play Star Sector. How do you evaluate balance in Star Sector? How do you choose which mods to run? And how many mods do you prefer to use at once? Please share your insight in the comments. Until next time.